Good morning. This video lecture is for class 6th, subject English, Honeysuckle. In this video lecture, we are going to do a poem, Vocation. This is lecture 1. Let's quickly restart the poem Vocation. I will first introduce you with the contents of the video lecture. Contents that we are going to cover in this video lecture will be: first, the introduction. Second, stanza-wise explanation of the poem. Each and every stanza will be explained to you all. Summary of the poem. What is the poet trying to convey us through the poem Vocation? New words and their meanings. Homework. Introduction. By the word vocation, we can just analyze what is the poem all about. So, this poem is written by Rabindranath Tagore and displays a child's yearning and wishes. It speaks about how a child is unaware of the harshness connected to daily life and gets attracted to various things in life. So basically this poem is spoken or displays a child's yearning and wishes. What he earning means what he wants to do in his life, what are his, basically you can say his aims, earnings, wishes. It speaks about how a child is unaware of the harshness. You people very well know that the world is so cruel outside. A child who doesn't know about how people are outside the house, doesn't know about the harshness which is connected to daily life and gets attracted to various things in life and how he wants to go out and enjoy the adulthood. So this poem is all about that. I think you people also, being a child, you always want to grow up and you want to become an adult as soon as possible. But with adulthood, a lot of responsibilities also come. So let's quickly get into the poem. The poem is really very interesting. Vocation. The first stanza. When the gong sounds 10 in the morning and I walk to school by our lane, every day I meet the hawker crying, bangles, crystal bangles. The child said that when the gong struck and made a sound to declare the first part of the day, it was 10 o'clock. He said that this was also the time for him to go to the school. On his way to school, he used to watch a salesman who would shout, "Bangles, crystal bangles," to sell his bangles. What do you mean by the word gong here? Gong is a metal. You must have heard the bell of the sound in the school. That's a gong, a metal type structure, and when you hit that structure, there's a very loud sound. Okay, so when the gong sounds 10, right, with the gong they're trying to tell you the clock. Okay, so when the clock sounds 10 in the morning, he goes to the school. Clear? I hope the first stanza is clear to everyone. Moving to the second stanza. Stanza 2. There is nothing to hurry him on. There is no road he must take, no place he must go to, no time when he must come home. So it's saying here there's no hurry him on. So there's no hurry. He's very calm, he's very casual, and there's no road, no place he must go to, no time when he must come home. While looking at him, the child had a thought that the vendor was free. He was in no hurry to reach anywhere, unlike the child who had to reach his school on time and come back home. He thought that the bangle seller was free of any time constraints. Place foundation means he was free to move to any place. Unlike him, he felt as if he was under strict observations and the vendor was enjoying complete freedom. So now basically when he was looking at the hawker who was hawking, he was just looking at him and he was thinking that, see, that man is so free. He can go to any place, anywhere he feels like. He's not limited to school, or he doesn't have to go back home once the school is over. So he's so free. Okay, so that was a child's imagination when he was looking at the vendor and he was thinking the same. Moving to the next stanza, that's stanza number 3. I wish I were a hawker, spending my day in the road, crying bangles, crystal bangles. Thus, he was so impressed by his freedom that he wished to be a hawker. He wished to move freely and shout just like him in the streets. Okay, clear? Stanza number 4. When at 4 in the afternoon I come back from the school, I can see through the gate of that house the gardener digging the ground. The child, after coming back from school at 4 in the afternoon, noticed the gardener through the gate of the house. He would peep out and notice him digging soil. Clear? So when he used to come back from the school, he used to look through the gate of the house and he used to find the gardener digging the ground. He would peep out and notice him digging soil, and he would actually look he used to peep out of the gate and he used to notice that how the gardener is digging the soil. Moving to the next stanza, that's stanza number 5. He does what he likes with his spade. He soils his clothes with dust. Nobody takes him to task if he gets baked in the sun or gets wet. So what is he thinking? He's looking at the gardener and he's saying that he can do anything that he wants to do with his spade. He soils his cloth with dust. That means he puts the soil all around his clothes and there's nobody to scold him. Like a little child, your parents scold you when you make your clothes dirty, isn't it? So he's assuming the same, that he soils his clothes with dust, but nobody takes him to task. Nobody says anything to him. If he gets baked in the sun or gets wet, even if he is there sitting in the sun, he gets baked in the sun, even if he gets wet. So nobody is there to scold him. This is what he's imagining after looking at the gardener. I wish I were a gardener, digging away at the garden with nobody to stop me from digging. So now he's saying that I wish I was a gardener, digging away the garden and nobody to stop me from digging. Here, the child was attracted by his freedom to be in the dust and to do things of his choice. With his tools, he thought that the gardener had the freedom to dirty his clothes with soil, play with his tools, stay in the sun for longer hours, get wet with sweat, or do anything, and he was not getting any punishment for all this. Whereas if he would have been punished for all this, so completely unaware of the hardships of that worker, he was attracted to be a gardener, to do things of his choice and no one around to stop him. Earlier he was assuming, or he wanted to become a bangle seller, a hawker, and then looking at the gardener, he wanted to become a gardener. So can you just understand? He was looking at everyone and he was thinking that they are so free. They have their part of freedom, whereas I, being a child, I don't have any freedom. Moving to the next stanza. Stanza number 6. Just as it gets dark in the evening and my mother sends me to bed, I can see through my open window the watchman walking up and down. So now can you imagine, he wants to become a watchman now. He's saying, just as it gets dark in the evening and my mother forcefully sent me to the bed, and while he's sleeping, he's looking at the window and he can see the watchman walking up and down. The lane is dark and lonely, and the street lamp stands like a giant with one red eye in its head. At night, his mother would send him to sleep in his room, where there used to be an open window. From there, he would notice a watchman walking here and there, from one side to the other in the dark, lonely street. He also had a lamp in his hand, which looked to him like a superhuman with a red eye in its head. Clear? Moving next, stanza 7. The watchman swings his lantern and walks with his shadow at his side, and never once goes to bed in his life. He would move his lamp from one side to another. His shadow was also visible on his side. While he walked, the child thought that the watchman would never have slept at night all his life. So this is what he's assuming. He's looking at the watchman and he's saying he would have never slept at night all his life. The next stanza, stanza 8. I wish I were a watchman walking the street all night, chasing the shadows with my lantern. The child was so attracted to his moves that he wished to be a watchman who could walk all night in the streets, running after his shadows with a lantern in hand. So basically now he was assuming that the watchman was so free and he would have not slept his entire life. As a child also he would have not slept. So now he also gets attracted to his moves and now he wants to become a watchman. Next. So this is all about the poem. First he wants to become a hawker, then he looks at the gardener and he wants to become a gardener. Then he has a look at the watchman, then he wants to become a watchman. So can you understand the mentality of the child, that he's attracted to all the things which he's seeing? Yes, even he wants to be a gardener, he wants to be a hawker, and he also wants to be a watchman. So this is the poem all about vocation. There's a summary. In this poem, a child speaks about his wishes and attractions. It shows the state of his wavering but innocent mind. The poem is about how a child gets attracted to the ways of people around him and finds different curiosities and attractions in their lives. He is not aware of the tough routine they have to go through. It also shows his innocence and lack of worldly sense. At 3 different points of time during the day, he notices different hawkers and gets impressed by their free choices and independent way of life. When the gong sounds 10 in the first part of the day, he goes to his school and sees the vendor crying, "Bangles, precious stone bangles," and he wishes he could be a peddler and moves freely anywhere just like him. So this was the summary. Moving at 4 in the evening, while returning from school at the same time, he sees the plant specialist burrowing the ground and he wanted to be a nursery worker. He wished to play in the dust. At the point when night falls, his mom sends him to bed and he sees the guardian through the window and he wishes he could be a gatekeeper so that he could also move here and there in the streets at night freely. Clear? So in the morning he wanted to become a hawker. By evening he wanted to become a gardener. At the point when night falls he wanted to become a gatekeeper. As a child, or as when we are child, we have a lot of ambitions. We look at someone and we get motivated by them and we think that we will also become the same in the future. So I think you people can correlate with the child very nicely. Okay, moving next. New words and the meanings. The first word is gong, an object made of metal which gives sound when struck. Next, hawker, person who travels and shouts to sell goods. Crystal, a jewel which looks clear and transparent, just like ice. Vendor, a street salesman. Right? Then digging, break up the soil or earth with hands or tools. Spade, a sharp-edged tool used for digging and cutting. Then the word baked in the sun, heated because of excess sunlight, excessive sun exposure. Digging away, to devote serious and consistent effort. Walking up and down, to move back and forth from one side to the other. Giant, an imaginary superhuman, right? Swings, to move from one side to another. Chasing, pursue, run after. Homework, it's mandatory to do the homework. You have to write the keywords and the meaning also in your fair notebook. And here are some set of questions. Who is the speaker in the poem? Who are the people the speaker meets? What are they doing? Next question. What wishes does the child in the poem make? Why does the child want to be a hawker, a gardener, or a watchman? Pick out the lines in each stanza which tells us this. Third, from the way the child envies the hawker, the gardener, and the watchman, we can guess that there are many things the child has to do or must not do. Make a list of the do's and don'ts that the child doesn't like. Clear? Thank you. I hope you people liked the poem. Please kindly read the poem from a textbook also, and if you have any doubt, more than welcome in the online class. Thank you. Take care. Stay safe.